I'm going to cover some of the things that happened in 2020, obviously go over some of our COVID-19 impacts and some of the changes that have happened because of that. And then we'll get into the all-important stuff, the 2021 program and offering changes. We'll start with residential programs, then renewables, and finally business programs. And then we'll round it out with a little bit on training and some website updates we're making. Starting off with our COVID-19 updates, many of you know we are really limiting our site visits, so that's focused staff, the site visits that we're doing. This is an ever-changing kind of thing, but as of right now, we are very limited in our site visits and on-site things, so we'll be doing as much virtual as we can for the time being and until it's really deemed safe. We do have some very limited case-by-case basis site visits that we will do, and we'll just follow proper PPE and kind of COVID guidelines when we do those. And I didn't want to get into really too far into the weeds on our energy savings goals and everything like that, but we're doing pretty well there still, regardless of the COVID impacts. But I did want to share our customer satisfaction scores. What I'm showing here is the 2019 evaluated customer satisfaction scores, which is very good. We're shooting for at least an 8.9 out of 10, which is a pretty high mark. Last year we were at about a 9.3, which is just great, just I'd say blowing it out of the water. But this year so far, year to date in 2020, we're at about a 9.46. So still a few scores going to be trickling in at the end of the year here, but really overall, really great scores. I think it's a testament to the great work that our trade allies do, that you folks do. It really is. You guys are the face of our program, and I think this is just a really great metric. Really shows that customers are super happy with Focus on Energy and the work that you're doing. So great work there. So now we'll get into some of the updates for 2021, probably the real reason you're here, starting with some residential updates. First off, real quickly, I wanted to just mention our retail program. As many of you know, we buy down the price of products in retail locations and brick and mortar stores and things. So we're continuing with that. It's lighting, advanced power strips, some water saving products, and smart thermostats and things. So not a lot of change there. We also have our free energy savings packs that homeowners can order from our website or call and place an order that way. But not a lot of change there as well. Just want to make sure that everybody's still aware that we are still doing that. And then I wanted to mention and make sure that everyone is aware that we are eliminating our appliance recycling offering in 2021. We've had this for many years now. Many of you are probably aware of it, maybe pushed your customers to this. So we will no longer be picking up old refrigerators and freezers moving forward. So now really getting into our trade ally driven offerings, starting with heating and cooling. Still have our tier 1 and tier 2 offerings, tier 1 being just for everyone that is a customer of our participating utility. Tier 2 is for income qualified folks, so they have to get income qualified, but they get a higher incentive. As far as heating and cooling, just a couple of changes. Most notable is probably that we will no longer be incentivizing air conditioners, and then we're also decreasing the incentive on ECM replacements. And then for residential insulation and air sealing, not a lot of change here. Again, we still have the tier 1 and tier 2. The change is really in the incentive amounts, a slight decrease in the incentive amounts for air sealing and attic insulation both in Tier 1 and Tier 2, it's down $50 from 2020. On our new homes offering, there is a little bit more of some changes here to report. So the main thing is the delivery of the program is not changing. We're still working with participating builders and with building performance consultants. So keeping all of that the same. It's been much the same since the very early days of the program. Eligibility, really no change there as well. With single family homes, multifamily, that is 3 units or fewer, and then townhomes. We are making some changes because one thing is that we had a lot of non-energy specific requirements that were part of the new homes offering in the past, and these things that are really, they don't translate to energy savings, but they're really kind of best practices. And we found that a lot of builders are doing these things regardless of our program requirements. But we also found that there were a few builders that had some of these things that were sticking points for them, and they were really barriers to participation for them and for their customers. So we've changed some of those requirements to just be best practices instead. So we want to be sure we're still promoting the best practices and really building the best homes possible. And we want to give the building community kind of the tools and the education to build those best homes possible. But we didn't want this to be a barrier to participation, and we wanted to allow builders to do what's best for them and their customers. So there are some changes there. The incentive rate structure is a little bit different this year. So this table here, you can see it's maybe kind of small, but showing the 2020 incentive rates that they were, right now at the end of 2020. Moving into 2021, it's a little bit different because it's not a flat rate anymore. There is a part of the incentive that'll be a flat rate, and then a part of the incentive that will be based on the MMBTU saved. So we did find a lot of homes would just kind of slip into one tier or the next and just barely eke into a tier. So we're really trying to promote getting more energy savings and doing more and really getting incentivizing builders and their customers to do a little bit more. So a little bit of a change there. We're also adding bonus incentives for specific things. So if you install a 98% furnace, $150 incentive for that. If you go above and beyond in the installation, some incentive for that. And heat pump water heaters, also an added incentive for that. And that's on top of the savings in this incentive table here. So there is a cap per home at $4,000, but I think these are great changes. I think this will really work to kind of push everybody to get the best houses that we can. And now moving into some renewable programs updates. Not a lot of changes from what as the renewables and solar PV offerings right now. For residential customers, again, that's single family homes and places with 3 units or less. That's a $500 per system incentive, really meant to cover the cost of permitting and interconnection, things like that. That's going to stay throughout 2021, that $500. It's a $500 flat fee or flat rate, so any system over half of a kW DC will be eligible for this $500 per system. There's also a residential or a rural component to this, so that customers that are in our rural set of zip codes are also eligible for a bonus incentive of $500 per system. And that's the same as it is right now in this year. And again, on the business side of solar PV, Same incentive structure as you know right now. Going to continue this through at least through the end of 2021. This progressive kind of structure to the incentives. There's also a bonus for agricultural producers, and so they can get a match of up to an additional $10,000. So that's whatever their incentive is, we'll match it with this bonus up to $10,000. For all of our solar PV offerings, we do have a reservation system because we do have a limited budget available for this. Reservations are strongly encouraged. It's not a requirement next year, but we really do encourage it to ensure that your customers can lock in those incentives while budget is available. We'll start accepting those reservations on December 15th for next year's projects, and those forms and everything can be found on our website. Finally, our last renewable offering is the Renewable Energy Competitive Incentive Program, or RECIP. This has gone through a few changes in the last year or so, but we still do offer this. We put out a request for proposal in January, in May, and in September, and the eligible technologies are biomass, biogas, solar thermal, and wind. So please, if you've got some of those customers, please do continue to put in your proposals when those RFPs are open. And now moving into some business program updates. I'm going to be grouping some of these changes together because we offer similar incentives across the board for different customer types and things, and then we'll get into some more specific offering level changes. But on the prescriptive offering side, not a lot of changes really when you consider just the sheer amount of prescriptive measures that we have out there. We did have two incentives that we'll be reducing next year. That's high bay LEDs that are replacing linear fluorescence, and then smart thermostats. Both of those will have a lower incentive. We had one incentive structure change, and that's for ag ventilation and circulation fans. We really tried to simplify this so that there are no tiers related to performance, because it was kind of a barrier. This is going to make it easier for customers to understand. We had a few standalone offerings in 2020 around this that'll now be added to the incentive catalogs, and so they'll be more kind of broadly known. Horticulture lighting will also be added to the ag incentive catalog. Demand-controlled kitchen ventilation systems will be added to the HVAC catalog, and then comprehensive lighting solutions, the CLS, that'll be added to the catalogs. And really what this is instead of just one-for-one lighting replacements, it's really look at correctly lighting a space. So not necessarily that one-for-one, but incorporating controls that look at light levels and things like that. So we'll be adding that to the catalogs as well. And then we eliminated 3 measures because they're generally just best practices now, and we really don't need to be incentivizing them. That includes 15 SEER split systems, parking garage ventilation controls are being limited, and then refrigerator case lighting occupancy sensors also being eliminated. Those are really tied to some refrigeration standards now, so we just can't incentivize those anymore. We're also adding a handful of measures to our catalogs. For exterior lighting, we're looking at network lighting controls, adding 8-foot exterior T-LEDs. We're going to add some parking garage lighting controls, and then VFDs for ventilation and circulation fans. So incentive catalogs, I'm sure many of you are patiently waiting. They are drafted and they are complete as of today. So I think they're on their way to the printer right now. We're expecting those paper copies to be ready sometime in early January, but electronic versions will be available by the end of the year, by the end of 2020. So you can talk to your energy advisor about getting those, or you can check our website in the next week or so here. For custom incentives, not a lot of changes here. Still that $100 per kW, 4 cents a kilowatt hour, 80 cents per therm. Still require pre-approval for those custom incentives, and incentives are capped with the simple payback of 1.5 to 10 years, and project cost of 50%. So we can't pay more than 50% of the project cost. Incentive caps, no change there. It's $300,000 per project is the max, and per customer, the cap is $400,000 per year. So now getting into some of the more specific offerings. New construction. As some of you probably know, we have a few different paths you can participate in to get into the new construction offering. Energy design assistance provides the whole home or the whole building energy simulation analysis to estimate energy savings relative to the current energy code. That's really for those projects that are in the early design phase, where multiple systems are being looked at, multiple options can be explored. Incentives for both EDA, energy design assistance, and the energy design review, we're changing back to the dollar per kWh and dollar per therm incentive model. We had changed this to a dollar per MMBTU incentive model in 2020, hoping to really reflect the interplay of all the energy using systems in the building and the overall energy use of a building, kind of take that holistic approach. But the feedback that we received was that it was difficult for customers to understand. So, after talking with a lot of architects and engineering firms, we're changing back to the kWh, or the dollar per kWh and dollar per therm kind of structure. The incentive table you can see here, incentive rates really, about the same. They'll be really about the same as they were in 2020. Once you calculated out the dollar per MMBTU. So a nice change. I think, we tried something new, we found out it wasn't better, so going back to the old way. For energy design review, this, some of you are probably familiar, it utilizes kind of a simplified version of the energy design assistance path. So it's for projects that are later in the design process. So if they have, construction documents already complete, or maybe they've already broken ground on construction, there are just fewer opportunities to make changes, but there's still more opportunities than there is with a typical kind of prescriptive path that would allow. So one change we're making is to broaden what projects are allowed to participate. So for customers that may be set in most of their building designs, but want to look at maybe just a single system change and compare the energy performance of that, of a couple different systems, say HVAC systems, we can help provide the modeling and support to help analyze how that'll affect the overall building. So we're adding that as an opportunity under energy design review. New for 2021 and still in development. So more details will be forthcoming. The product equipment performance path. So this is really a hybrid approach that we're going to be looking at offering kind of a good, better, and best opportunities for customers for specific building types. So we're planning to launch this in Q2 specifically for multifamily buildings. It's intended to give a kind of hybrid prescriptive incentive. So for example, if you were going to base it on square footage, you could say good would be 20 cents a square foot, better would be 30 cents a square foot, and best would be 50 cents a square foot. Those are just examples, so those are not in any way set in stone, but we're still finalizing. But we want to make it easier for customers to know, so they can really say, if I do these 5 things, that will get me to the good category, and I'll be able to expect that 20 cents a square foot or whatever that might be. Again, there's it's a lot still to be done there, and more details will be coming out later. We'll start with multifamily buildings in Q2. We may look to expand that into other building types in the future. So look for more coming out on that. And then finally, the product equipment incentives, they're really the prescriptive incentives. That's continuing from 2020 into 2021 as it has been before, and those can be found in the incentive catalogs. So some other offerings, starting with RCX, or retro commissioning. We're changing the offering on this based on what we've been hearing from the market and conversations we've been having with retro commissioning service providers. So we're looking to base our incentive on a dollar per square foot metric and an EUI, energy use intensity reduction. So previously the incentive was based on KWH and therm savings. The goal of the redesign was really to engage customers to complete retro commissioning projects and reduce their energy use intensity and to get their systems optimized. So we wanted to simplify it and make it easier for them to do that. So customers will be providing a building usage history via Energy Star Portfolio Manager. We'd really like to encourage them to use Portfolio Manager to benchmark their building. Or they would have the option to provide us the utility bills as well. They'll share with us the details on the square footage of the part of their building that they're doing the retro commissioning on, and some other details about their buildings. And then there'll be a base incentive of 10 cents per square foot and up to 16 cents per square foot based on the energy usage intensity reduction. So hopefully this will give customers kind of an easier way to figure out what their incentive would be and could be, and really help them find the best path forward for their building. We are also planning to develop more of our whole building optimization type tools, as we realize that this is something that we'll be seeing more of in the future and customers are going to be looking for. So we're looking to do kind of a retro commissioning light to help customers who are kind of unable to go through full retro commissioning, or their building just doesn't work for them. So we're looking to launch something like that mid-year. So more details will be forthcoming on that. As mentioned earlier, Comprehensive Lighting Solutions is continuing. No changes to incentives or requirements, but they will also be found in the lighting catalogs. So they'll just be easier to find, and you can see some of those incentives listed here. And then the online assessment. We actually have an online assessment available this year. In 2020 we did for small business customers. We're going to be opening that up to C&I customers as well. So with the online assessment, it's pretty high level. Business customers, they'll use basic facility data to complete kind of a step-by-step survey, and then at the end they'll receive a list of customized energy savings recommendation based on that. Like I said, it's pretty high level. Right now, that assessment tool is available on our website, still for small business, but in January this is going to be updated to that expanded list of customers that you can see here. As many of you know, we have a few school and government specific offerings. One thing that we're continuing is the boiler tune-up offering we offered this year. We found it to be very helpful in keeping these customers engaged, even when they're not maybe able to do some of the larger capital projects. So we're continuing that. We've also got a few things that are in development and will be launched either Q1 or Q2 next year. We're doing benchmarking re-engagement. This is for some schools that participated in our 2018 benchmarking study. We're also looking at creating an energy teams toolkit. We found that since we're mostly virtual now and remote, we've had less success engaging with schools and their sustainability teams or their energy teams. So we're putting together this toolkit that will hopefully help keep these customers engaged and still moving their projects forward. And finally, we're looking at a strategic energy management expansion for select schools and government customers. We'll probably be starting with higher education because we feel like there's a good amount of opportunity there. And that will probably be in Q1 or Q2 of 2021. And then for wastewater customers, we'll be continuing our wastewater plant energy assessments. And then in development right now, launching in Q1 or Q2 is just a pump assessment. What we've been hearing from some of these customers is that not all of them need a full energy assessment. They really just need to look at their pumping systems. So we're going to be adding this kind of breakout from the full assessment to just look at pumps. And that is also in development right now. For our rural industrial customers, we'll be continuing our staffing incentive, which is a 20% incentive increase for enrolled customers. We've got a lot of positive feedback from this, and so we'll be continuing that next year, and we are already accepting 2021 enrollments, so you can go on the website and see that right now. For agricultural customers, we're continuing our Ag Trade Ally bonus, so no changes to this. Trade Allies are eligible for a bonus if they're completing projects for ag customers, and these dollars get paid directly to the Trade Ally, so no changes here. It's been very, very successful. The other thing that was new in 2020, and we're continuing, is the dairy refrigeration tune-up. We've had these in some capacity for a long time, but we changed the structure of this last year. It's very much a Trade Ally driven offering. So Trade Allies are going out to their customers and offering an instant discount to customers for these tune-ups, and then we end up paying that incentive back to the Trade Ally. So we've gotten some really good feedback on this. Some Trade Allies have really taken this and ran with it, which is great to see. So we're going to continue that into 2021. And finally, just a few things about training. Obviously, COVID impacted our ability to do a lot of in-person trainings in 2020, but the outcome for that is that has really jump-started our move to more virtual training offerings. So that is kind of a positive, because I think it's a direction we wanted to go anyway. It just is happening faster than expected. And so far, what we've been doing has been pretty well received. So we did have a lot of virtual trainings, a number of virtual trainings in 2020. So for the most part, we'll be expecting to stay all virtual for the majority of 2021. We may have some in-person trainings toward the end of 2021, but time will tell for that. So in the spirit of continuing in this all virtual training world of ours, we'll be updating our webinar format and pushing more content to you via webinars. So a lot of the stuff might be, very short and easy and easy to find and access, and hopefully will be very helpful for our trade allies. Next year, we're going to continue with our solar PV trainings. It was very well received this year, so we're going to continue offering that and expanding upon that in 2021. And then finally, I'll actually go to the next slide. We will be updating our website and implementing a new learning management system. So this is in development right now, but we're very excited about it. Really hoping to expand upon what we're already offering and use this tool to really make it easier to access all of our trainings. And really, we're hoping to highlight Trade Ally trainings next year. Both kind of I won't say in class, but like virtual in class trainings, kind of live trainings, as well as self-serve webinar type things, all through our website and through this learning management system. So hopefully we'll be seeing that start to roll out in Q1 of next year. And that pretty much does it for our 2021 updates for Trade Allies. If you have questions about any of our offerings or anything, of course, you can always reach out to your energy advisor. Hopefully you know who that is. If you don't, you can go to our website. We have an energy advisor map, so somebody that is, an expert in, your field and knows the ins and the outs of the program, and is in your part of the state. You can go to our energy advisor map and find the contact information for the person you want to talk to. And if you have general questions or you don't quite know who to reach out to, you can always reach us at tradeally@focusonenergy.com. We'll get you to the right person. We'll be able to answer any questions you might have. So hopefully you won't have any problems finding us or finding out the information that you need right away. So thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to another great year. And thank you guys so much. The Trade Allies, you guys are really the heart of our program, and I've said it many times and I'll say it again, you're the most important part of Focus on Energy, and you're the face of Focus on Energy. So we're really happy to be able to partner with you, and thank you very much.